What's up? What's good? Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Wednesday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. Hope each and every one of you are doing great. And I hope you're having a great week. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell notification button to get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of a lot of my videos. Not all, but a lot. So what's up? What's up? How are you guys doing? Don't mind the background noise. I wanted to talk to you guys, and I typically don't get a ton of time, especially now. This is busy work season. So I figured I'm just going to cut over, pull over, and I'm going to give you a video because something has happened recently that a lot of people never thought would happen. And that is Paul Bernardo is going from maximum, or has went from maximum to medium security. He's gone from Millhaven maximum security, protective custody wing, super segregated, locked down 24/7 for like 30 years, to medium security prison, La Macaza or La Macaza. I don't know what the actual name of it is in Quebec. It is a medium security, and apparently it's right by Mont Tremblant Airport. Now, I've never heard of this prison. I've mentioned it in another video. I've heard of it now since I've been out on the street. But I did 17 years in the system. I never heard the name of this penitentiary. So what does that tell me? That tells me it's super duper PC. It's probably a huge chunk percentage protective custody and probably super high need protective custody. Now, we have a joint like that in Ontario. It's Bath. It's where they put most of the weirdos that are in medium security. But it is not 100% PC because the medium security pens in Ontario and in Canada are integrated. What does that mean? General population is in with PC. They just don't tell you who's who anymore. And they write guys up, give guys misconduct, send guys to max for doing paperwork parties. So it has forced people to put on their blinders and do their time like that. And it has given the system and officials who run the prison ears on the ground, snitches in the system, and you can't do anything about it. You get rid of one, they'll send back 5. It just is what it is. But they haven't managed to do that in Max. Bernardo is now in La Macaza, which is an exceptionally strange prison. There's not much information about it. I Google it. It literally talks about the city or the town that it's in and not really about the penitentiary. There's not a whole lot of information other than I saw some pictures that they're doing some constructions for Aboriginal arts or something like that. But if Bernardo's going there, what that tells me is that this is a place designed for people like him. People whose life will be in danger if they're in the main line. Now, Bernardo's been screaming to be released from segregation for 10 or 15 years. He's wanted to take a run at his chance in population. Why wouldn't he? He's been locked down in segregation by himself with his thoughts, which I don't think are empathetic thoughts. I don't think this is the guy that's sitting in segregation thinking about, oh man, I feel super bad for all the families I've affected and my victims. No, I think he's in there, and if he's having bad thoughts, it's feeling bad for himself for getting caught. He's clearly a sociopath, clearly lacks human empathy. So I don't think we should have any empathy for him. I think he should be in population somewhere. And I would be surprised if even in a place like La Macaza, somebody doesn't take a run at him. You know, I guarantee you, if you put Paul Bernardo in population in Ontario on the main line, doesn't matter which pen it is. You could put him in Bath, you could put him in Fembrook, you could probably even put him in a camp. They wouldn't because he'd run away. But that kind of a population, and I'm sure at least one old school con would take a run at him. You know, I don't see people doing time with this dude. And I also know that we're in an era where clout is one hell of a drug. And you would become a pretty famous and legendary person if you were the guy who buck 50'd Bernardo across his face, cut his cheeks open so you can see his teeth, and then caved his eye sockets in, stomped his chest cavity in with your feet, crushed his jaw in with your feet. You would become legendary. You would have the kind of status in prison that a cop killer has, and I genuinely believe that. Now, what is this? This is my question for you guys. How do you guys feel about it? Do you think he should be allowed out into population to fend for himself? Or do you think they should lock him away in segregation and just keep him there for the rest of his natural life? You're not making somebody like that feel sorry for themselves. You're not making somebody like that lose their mind because they've already lost it. So what are you gaining from him being in segregation forever? You're losing the opportunity for somebody to get him. And let's be honest, we all want to see somebody get Paul Bernardo. I do. I'm a victim of sexual abuse myself, and I would love the opportunity to run up on a dude like that. Apparently, he's super tough. He's been practicing karate and Muay Thai, stuff that he read in books. But what I say to that is, how can you be tough? Doesn't matter what you learn from books. Doesn't matter what you can practice shadow boxing. Unless you've been in a real fight in your life, you can't be tough. And I don't care what he says. He's never been in a fight. He victimizes women and small girls. He's a biatch. We all know that. So I doubt that he can fight. I don't care how big he is, how jacked he is. He's insane, so he probably wouldn't feel any way about hurting somebody. But I think he's a biatch, personally. I don't think people that are tough genuinely victimize people that are weaker than them. I think that a type of confidence that comes with that kind of toughness typically allows somebody to not get into their ego so much. Although there are exceptions to those rules. You know, you do have guys that are extremely tough and also psychos. But they're few and far between. It doesn't typically work that way. I think he's going to get cooked. And I think if he was in Ontario, he would get cooked. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, actually. I think I might have said this or mentioned this before. My mom's friend almost was a victim of Bernardo when she was young, just freshly married. They were probably, in their early 20s. And she had to knock on her door one day, and she opened her door, and it's Bernardo. Her husband was home, though. And when he walked down the hall, you know how, he comes slowly down the hall, kind of standing behind her, but over her. Bernardo saw him and book like a banshee. They never thought anything of it at the time. I'm sure they thought it was weird. I'm sure maybe they thought this guy was going to steal something or whatever. But imagine what they felt the day they saw his face on the news being arrested for the things he was arrested for. The Scarborough grapist. How many people did he grape in his years in Scarborough? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? Who knows? Because I'm sure not every attack he's done has been attributed to him. I'm sure that is the case. And he's also killed multiple people. Serial killer, killed Leslie Mahaffey and Kirsten French, two young women who fell victim to this POS. And then Tammy Maholka, his crazy psychopathic wife and co-accused sister, they killed, man. He got a manslaughter for that. I guess they felt like he didn't mean to kill him because of the intoxicants. I don't know if she overdosed or choked on her vomit. I don't know what it was. But there was a bunch of crazy accusations of weird sexual behavior with that young lady's body. I don't know how anybody could stand by this dude. And the crazy story is, apparently this man gets more mail than any convict in the Canadian system. Women throwing themselves at this heartthrob rapist and serial killer. Are you kidding me? Any woman in who doesn't have a prior relationship with this man, meaning his kids or his sister or his mother, and I don't think he ever had kids, but you know what I'm saying. Anybody who hasn't had a prior relationship with this dude that would go out of their way to try and build one, you have serious problems. Now, I've met a lot of people in my life that have dated people that are inside. I know a woman who's dating a lifer right now. I don't personally understand it, how you could date a lifer when you've never met them in the community before. You have kids. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But I, at the same time, am not going to judge, because I was locked up once and I had girlfriends when I was locked up. And I think that they're typically good people. So I just think that sometimes love makes you do crazy things. But when you see something like Canadian Inmates Connect, and there's like a guy posted on there who's a lifer, I know this situation personally, okay? He's a lifer in for murder, and posted his ad on Canadian Inmates Connect. And this lady started writing him, within 1 month was visiting him and bringing her kids. Like, what world would you have to be living in your mind to make that seem okay? I don't get it. It's weird to me, but there are these people that are writing Bernardo, and shame on you, man. Shame on you. If you have a sister, a daughter, a cousin, anything, how you could justify talking to that piece of shit, I'll never get it. But let's just hope he stays in population and somebody decides to be solid and take a run at him. Paul Bernardo, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think they should have just left him locked up, trying to deteriorate his mind that way? We live in a pretty liberal country, and they've tried to basically knock segregation out. Like, I remember when I first started doing Fed time, if you were in seg for 3-6 months for something like a major misconduct, you were lucky to get out in that amount of time. Like, you could stay down there for a year if they felt like you were a problem to the population. Now, though, with the liberal government, with the whole situation with Ashley Smith, with mental health coming a little bit more to the forefront, they've seemed to try to move away from segregation and keep it to 15 days or less, unless you pose a real violent threat to the population or to the police. Let's be honest. They're not doing this for human rights because they care about the convicts. Because 99.9% of people in society don't give a fuck about the convicts. Okay? They're doing it because it looks bad. It reflects badly on them when things like Ashley Smith get into the news. And then it reflects badly on them. It makes their human rights record look horrible. But let's get it twisted. They don't give a fuck. Look what's happening in EMDC. How many inmates have lost their life to guards? They don't give a fuck. If it wasn't for a massive Hell's Angel rally outside scaring those guards, it probably would have never chilled out at all. And I don't know, have there been more? But I'm not sure Seg is the answer for this dude, I think this dude needs to face the consequences of his actions, just like the rest of us. And I'm not saying that he should just be thrown into a fight cage where somebody's going to murder him, because, that's not how the system's going to work. But when we get charged with stuff, we don't get protected, especially when nobody's asking for that protection. They automatically protected him because they didn't want to see him get hurt, because they wanted to be able to punish him and say that they did their job. But let's all be clear. We all hope something very bad happens to Paul Bernardo. And also one day, hopefully, Karla Homolka. Because these are two of the worst people that have ever existed on this planet. Shame on any of the bitches that's writing him. And you bitches are writing him. These ain't women. These are bitches. Obviously, I share my stories with you guys and these stories with you guys so we can learn from them and try to do better as a society. But this is not what this video is about, because nobody's going to help a guy like that. The only thing for a Bernardo or the person who abused me when I was a kid or Colonel Russell Williams or any of these guys is a fucking rifling range. That is the only solution. You can't change what you are attracted to or the things that sail your ship. You just can't. So stop trying to fix people. If people aren't going to fix themselves, there's no hope anyways. And a guy like him, he doesn't want to fix himself. You let that guy out tomorrow, I guarantee you somebody's dead within 2 or 3 months. Not because I think that lifers reoffend. They have the lowest recidivism rates of all. I just think when somebody lacks the empathy, like a guy like Bernardo, who can grape 30, 40, 50 women, feel no way about it, kill young girls, kill his wife's sister, then this is not a person who shares any compassion for anybody but themselves. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, and bell notification buttons to get all my videos when they're new. Can you share with somebody on social media? You know what I mean. I'm confused. It boggles my mind, a situation like this. You know, you don't typically hear about somebody being put in segregation for their whole bit. And there's guys that are in every pen that have charges that will stack up against, you know. People don't do a deep dive into every single person's case. But if you did a deep dive into everybody who's on the Dangerous Offenders Act, Dangerous SA Offenders Act, you'd be surprised at some of the crimes that you'd find that aren't reported on. His case was highly publicized, which forced them to do this, right? I think he honestly probably lived better than 99.9% of all inmates in the province, aside from the fact that he didn't get to see or touch or talk or communicate with anybody, which, you know, for a normal brain, a brain that suffers, then I would definitely say would be a real problem. But for somebody as cold and as dark as that guy, I don't think it probably fazed him at all. I think it's probably better he goes out into population, somebody takes a run at him, puts his ass down. You know, that's what I hope. And I don't wish violence on anybody. But when somebody does things like that, man, there's no hope. So, wow. Love y'all. The new Matt Clark.